A guy named Aiden looks out the window.
I'm sorry. Because I tried.
Full of despair, he records his last video. Aiden decides to end it all. But suddenly, the action jumps back 42 days. Aiden wakes up in his bed with a girl who immediately leaves him. He gets himself ready and goes down to the living room. Outside and behind the door, Aiden hears a strange noise and multiple voices, but he doesn't pay attention to it. Aiden turns on the TV and suddenly comes across an emergency broadcast. Sirens are wailing outside, and he wants to find out what happened. In complete bewilderment, Aiden goes out to the balcony, and what he sees shocks him. Aiden peeks out from the balcony and sees a lot of frightened people running in panic past his house. Suddenly, a crazy person attacks the people who lag behind the majority. In horror, Aiden returns to the living room and suddenly sees an unfamiliar guy breaking into his apartment. The guy tries to calm Aiden down and reminds him that he's just his neighbor, Brandon. Aiden wants to know why Brandon ended up in his apartment. Making sure Aiden is alone, Brandon informs him that their neighbor attacked him and then unexpectedly runs into the bathroom. Suddenly, Aiden notices a suspicious bite on his neck and immediately grabs a kitchen knife. At the same time, a news report is being broadcasted on TV, explaining the chaos that has engulfed major cities. The reporter warns that infected people are highly dangerous. Their eyes turn red, and they start screaming and devouring others. Moreover, the most dangerous zombie virus spreads instantly through bites and scratches. Meanwhile, a frightened Brandon returns to the room and tries to convince Aiden that he is not infected. However, Aiden demands Brandon to leave and threatens him with the knife. Brandon pleads not to kick him out, but the virus is already spreading through his body.
Oh God! I can't help you here. You have to leave.
Fortunately, the infected guy finally obeys Aiden's words and goes out into the hallway, where horrifying screams immediately echo. Just in time, Aiden peeks through the peephole and horrifiedly witnesses other zombies tearing Brandon apart. And what would you do if your neighbor turned into a zombie? Write in the comments. Soon, the news advises to completely avoid any contact with other people to prevent infection and survive. Aiden tries to calm himself down and drinks alcohol, while outside desperate victims continue to plead for help. He attempts to call his family, but no one answers the phone. Suddenly, he discovers messages from his father, who was planning to come to Aiden in the morning, but something hindered him. His father writes for Aiden not to worry about them and to take care of his sister. Aiden calls his parents again, but still, nobody answers. In the evening, Aiden marks the first day of isolation with a marker on the mirror and sticks a sticker with the words "Stay Alive" on the frame with a family photo. On the 6th day, Aiden decides to occupy himself with house cleaning and blocks the entrance door with his refrigerator. Meanwhile, on the news, they speculate about why zombies only consume living and uninfected people. They also report that major cities are already experiencing problems with water supply, so people should conserve their water reserves.
And a human being can survive up to 3 weeks without food, but water is more like 3 days.
At night, Aiden records his first video for his video journal. He talks about his fears and anxieties due to the horrifying pandemic. While outside the apartment, people's screams continue unabated. More than 2 weeks have passed since he began his isolation. Aiden covers the windows with paper and continues to consume alcohol. The news discusses zombie behavior, and terrifying sounds from outside keep frightening Aiden. Meanwhile, Aiden records his 16th video. He despairingly reveals that food and water supplies are running out, and soon he will have to venture outside. However, the situation in the country worsens, and reporters no longer go to cities to shoot reports. And how would you behave during the zombie virus pandemic? Would you stay at home or try to reach a safe place? Write in the comments below. Aiden remembers the negative impact of sensory deprivation on the human psyche and admits that due to prolonged isolation and lack of any information, he has started experiencing hallucinations. Suddenly, frightening sounds start coming from the bathroom. Making sure it's not a hallucination, Aiden grabs a baseball bat and hides behind a surfboard. The zombie girl enters the room, and Aiden strikes her with full force on the head with the bat. After recovering from the shock, Aiden takes the zombie's body to the balcony and then props up the ventilation hatch with the surfboard, through which the zombie had entered his apartment. For over a month now, Aiden hasn't stepped outside and continues to keep his video journal. The recording of another video is interrupted by a notification of a voicemail. Aiden's mother informs him that his sister managed to leave the city before the roads were blocked, but she and his father stayed at work. The parents ask Aiden not to leave the house and try to contact his sister. However, suddenly a horrifying noise is heard from the receiver, and the message cuts off. Aiden realizes in horror that his parents have become victims of zombies. Desperate, Aiden takes the baseball bat and steps into the hallway. However, a few seconds later, a group of zombies rushes towards him. Aiden dodges their attacks, and luckily, he manages to return to the apartment. A frightened Aiden once again barricades the door with the refrigerator, while the zombies outside continue their attempts to reach him.
Come here. Come here.
After some time, the electricity goes out in the city, and the action shifts back to the moment the movie begins. Aiden tears the paper off the windows and then puts a noose around his neck, preparing to end his life. Suddenly, Aiden notices a girl in the house across. Startled, he loses his balance and falls off the chair, but the rope snaps and Aiden survives. Aiden watches the stranger in astonishment and can't believe his eyes. He records another video and says he will try to contact the girl tomorrow. Soon, the laptop shuts down, and there is no way to charge it anymore. In the morning, Aiden decides to take a risk and go out onto the balcony, but he quickly realizes it's a bad idea. Returning to the apartment, Aiden notices the stranger again and tries his best to get her attention. Making sure the girl has noticed him, he starts communicating with her using pre-prepared sheets of paper. Aiden learns that the girl's name is Eva and that she is also alone. Aiden admits that she is the first normal person he has seen during his isolation. Soon, Eva reveals that she is running out of water, and now Aiden needs to come up with a way to help her. After communicating with Eva, Aiden decides to groom himself and shave his beard. Suddenly, it starts raining, and Aiden takes the opportunity to take a shower on the balcony. The next day, Aiden and Eva continue their communication. Aiden ties a rope to a baseball and throws it to Eva. They stretch the rope between the balconies, and Aiden successfully passes 2 bottles of water to Eva. Suddenly, a zombie appears out of nowhere and climbs the balconies towards Eva. Aiden immediately draws its attention to himself, saving Eva. The horrifying zombie is already climbing onto Aiden's balcony when he suddenly hears that other crazies are trying to break into his apartment through the front door. Aiden goes back inside and prevents the zombie from entering. Once the noise behind the door subsides, Aiden grabs the baseball bat and attacks the zombie on the balcony. At night, Aiden talks to his reflection and decides once again to leave the apartment to get food. Aiden takes Brandon's keys, and suddenly zombies appear in the hallway. Fortunately, Aiden manages to hide from them in Brandon's apartment in time. In the bedroom, Aiden discovers an unconscious girl with a massive wound on her thigh. Making sure she's not a threat, Aiden immediately heads to the kitchen to replenish his food supplies. Soon, he discovers that Brandon was a mountaineer and, in addition to food, takes his backpack with gear. Suddenly, another zombie infiltrates the apartment and tries to attack Aiden, but he manages to survive the encounter with the madman. Unexpectedly, the injured girl shows signs of life and asks for help. However, Aiden realizes that it's already too late to save her and finishes her off with a pickaxe. Quietly, Aiden leaves Brandon's apartment and successfully makes his way back home. Regaining his composure, Aiden examines the contents of the backpack and suddenly discovers 2 walkie-talkies. The find brings joy to Aiden, and he immediately comes up with a plan to pass a walkie-talkie to Eva. Aiden goes downstairs, avoiding the zombie horde, and throws the walkie-talkie onto Eva's balcony. The next morning, Eva contacts Aiden through the walkie-talkie. The young people are ecstatic and excited because they haven't had any communication with others for so long. They strive to learn more about each other and distract themselves from the terrifying reality, at least for a while. After some time, Aiden's food supplies run out again, and he decides to escape from the apartment through a ventilation shaft. Aiden crawls through the ventilation shaft when suddenly something horrifying startles him. Fortunately, the zombie is no longer a threat. Aiden continues his journey and soon finds himself in another apartment, armed with a bat. Aiden cautiously looks around and enters the kitchen, where he discovers a cupboard full of food. Aiden immediately wants to share the joyful news with Eva, but she is angry at him for leaving without warning her. Aiden promises not to hide anything from Eva anymore and assures her that they will definitely survive this horrifying pandemic. Eva worries about Aiden's safety, but he claims that the apartment is safe and the entrance door is blocked by a refrigerator. And suddenly, they realize that there must be someone else in the apartment. Otherwise, the refrigerator wouldn't be blocking the door. In the next second, Aiden confirms that he is not alone. The apartment owner named Edward cautiously confronts Aiden with a homemade spear. Aiden realizes that Edward is not infected and tries to convince him that he is also fine. Aiden confesses to Edward that he came to take his food, but the man claims that he himself recently found this place, so they are both looters. Aiden tells his new acquaintance that he lost his parents due to a zombie attack and admits that if he were infected, he would want to be put down. Edward has a more optimistic outlook and hopes that a vaccine against the zombie virus will be developed soon. Soon, Edward offers Aiden to take as much food as he needs and even gives him a bottle of whiskey. Aiden is delighted by such amazing generosity from the man and quickly lets his guard down. Within a few seconds, Aiden unexpectedly gets hit on the head with his own bat and loses consciousness. After some time, Aiden regains consciousness in Edward's bedroom. His hands are tied, and on the bed, Edward's infected wife rages. The woman realizes what is happening to her and asks her husband to put her out of her misery, but he hopes to cure his beloved wife someday.
I love her. You take care of the person you love.
For now, Edward is willing to sustain his wife's life at any cost. He confesses that she has already eaten his dog, and then reveals his horrifying plan to Aiden. The unfortunate young man must consume more painkillers, and once he falls asleep, Edward will cut his femoral artery. Then, when Aiden is weakened, Edward will tie his legs and bring him closer to his wife, who craves fresh human flesh. However, Aiden has no intention of becoming a meal for zombies and tries to convince Edward not to commit this monstrous crime. Suddenly, a noise behind the door distracts Edward, and he rushes out of the room to find out what's happening. In that moment, Aiden manages to break the rope on his hands and free himself. Edward returns to the room, but Aiden pushes him directly towards his deranged wife, who immediately bites into his neck. Finally, Aiden rushes to the kitchen and contacts Eva through the radio. However, she delivers the horrifying news that the terrifying zombies have invaded her apartment. Shocked, Aiden sets off to help Eva. He runs through the zombie-filled corridor and returns to his own apartment. Aiden discovers that Eva is hiding on the balcony and that the zombies could reach her at any moment. Aiden jumps from his balcony to the neighboring one and descends using a makeshift rope. Outside, zombies also await him, but Aiden accidentally discovers a gun on the ground and shoots one of them. Hearing the gunshot, dozens of zombies start leaping from balconies and attacking Aiden. He successfully defends himself and then climbs up the rope that Eva threw down. However, the zombies don't give up. Aiden climbs onto one of the balconies and cuts the rope, shouting for Eva to descend to him. Finally, Aiden and Eva are together. They rush into the corridor, but suddenly a group of insane zombies attacks Aiden. Eva saves him by hitting the zombies in the head with a pickaxe. They continue fighting off the zombies and try to reach Aiden's apartment. Finally, they find safety, but suddenly Aiden feels that one of the infected bit him. Afraid of harming Eva, Aiden decides to end his life by jumping off the balcony. Eva pleads with Aiden not to do it, as she won't survive without him and she has already fallen in love with him. Before jumping, Aiden takes off all of his clothes and suddenly realizes that there are no bite marks on his body. Aiden and Eva reunite, but their moment is interrupted by noise coming from the entrance door. They hurry inside and do everything they can to keep the refrigerator blocking the door, preventing the zombies from breaking into the apartment. However, now Aiden and Eva are together, and they are confident that they will survive no matter what.